on the topic of institutionalization, what ideas would you have to curb the cycle of poverty generally associated with institutionalization? And I believe, Mr. Ferrero, you have the first answer.
Well, again, you have our diversion programs where you're trying to keep people from going out to prison. The head of the prison in Ohio says he's not going to build any more prisons. There are over 50,000 people that are in prison in Ohio right now. That's probably 2,000 or 3,000 more than they can hold. So we have to try to find a way from sending people away. And I think like our local courts, my office, working together to try to get these programs in effect where they will try to turn their life around. And I think that's where they diversion programs are very important. Now, I don't know how many more diversion programs we can come up with. You know, I guess, you know, we've hit a lot of them, but if we can put our heads together and try to see what we can do, we will. But you know, once we hit the drug part, the mental health part, domestic violence is a very, very serious issue here in Stark County, and I'm talking felonies, and that means, you know, a person has more than one conviction for domestic violence. We have to try to do something there. I know Judge Hawes has a program there where he tries to work with domestic violence defendants to try to get them counseling or whatever they need to try to turn their life around. So those are the things. Once they go to prison and then they get out and try to look for employment, that poverty is going to be there, because it's going to be very difficult to find a good paying job when they do that. And that's, you know, I think that's just not just the criminal justice system. I think it's all society's got to chip in here to see what we can do to help them. And you know, send everybody to prison is not the answer. And they're telling us don't be sending everybody down here because we don't have enough room at the end.
Mr. Jakmides, your response.
Well, institutionalization is the conditioning a person gets from being in an institution. Mr. Ferrero isn't talking about the same thing that the question asked. Institutionalization is the behaviors and the conditioning that takes place for a person that does time in prison and time in jail. And then how then they come out of prison and they've had this conditioning and these behaviors enforced, they're institutionalized. That's what that means. And when I was in graduate school, we studied this. And Stark County, again, our judges are very progressive, and we think we have to give credit to Judge Brown on this. He started a reentry court to deal with the effects of institutionalization. And he got local pastors, local employers, and they taught them, look, these are not guys that are just going to be normal. They're going to have to adapt to being free because they have been institutionalized. And it's an understanding process that, very frankly, you know, we are fortunate in Stark County. I have to stop.
I'd like to remind the candidates that after the minute is up, you do have a 10-second grace period.
Oh. Well, if I had my last 10 seconds, I would say that we're lucky because our Judge Brown has started a program that helps employers understand institutionalization so that they can deal with it better. These guys aren't normal the day they get out of jail. They need help. And
your 10 seconds is up.
my 10 seconds.
We're now giving your opportunity to answer the question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Well, institutionalization takes many forms. You know, the myth is that they learn how to be better criminals. Well, I don't buy that. I don't think that's true. What they are is they're dehumanized. You know, they lose kindness, they lose respect for authority. The guards are the screws, and you don't want to be a snitch, and there's the terrible racial conflicts between the Mexicans and the blacks and the whites and the Aryans, and you can't mix and you can't be friends, and that's the institutionalization that takes place. And it's a very difficult thing to survive in prison and not be part of one of these hard groups, because if you're seen to associate with blacks, well then, you know, you're betraying your race, you know. And it's a mess. But there's, very frankly, the inmates run the institutions. There are very few guards per 100 inmates. And so, you know, they have reign there. And I would just tell you that it's a psychological effect, it's an emotional effect, and it's frankly a sociological problem, the institutionalization is. And it takes mental health, it takes good people in the community to understand that they don't come out normal. And they're not going to be normal right away. And you can't expect them to be normal right away. They need time to be de-institutionalized. And frankly, mental health counseling, good probation officers, good parole officers can have a big part in doing that, because they have been taught, and frankly almost everyone that I went to graduate school became a federal probation officer or a state probation officer. They've been taught how to deal with institutionalization. Thank you.
Mr. Ferraro, your response.
Yeah, well, the issue is to try to make sure they don't get institutionalized, okay? And I know, again, we're dreaming, hopefully, that all the criminals quit committing crimes, but I think as a society, we have to work with the juveniles and juvenile court, and I think we do. My office does a very fine job trying to get those kids on the right track again. I think we need to work on that. Again, everybody in this room needs to assist if there's organizations out there to work with kids. I think that's where we need to start. Boys and Girls Club, anything. The issue is, let's don't get them institutionalized in the first place. As my opponent said, once they get there, you don't know what's going to happen to them when they get in there and when they get out. We can only hope that they could be good, productive citizens, but a lot of times they don't do that. But the big thing is to make sure they don't get institutionalized.